Mr. Pocan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Madam Secretary. No, I think it's my question time, if I can. They'll start the clock. I just don't want to lose my clock.
Oh,
And if we could do short-term answers rather than long-term ones too, that'd be helpful, just because I got a lot I'd like to talk about. Let's talk about waste, fraud, and abuse a little more, about DOGE. So you fired 1,300 people. Another 600 people took Elon Musk's deferred resignation offer. Did you fire the people, or did DOGE fire the people? I'm not completely clear on that.
Most, excuse me, most of that restructuring happened under the acting.
Short-term, did you fire, or did DOGE fire?
Well, I'm going to tell you who I fired.
I know, but that's why I'm trying to get short-term questions.
The
It's
short
one or
term
the other, right?
Well, you're using our time.
Yeah.
So most of that was done before I came on board. However,
DOGE.
the decisions in the department I run the department. DOGE does not run the
Okay,
department.
so you didn't answer the question. Did you fire them, or did DOGE? It's real simple.
A good majority of that happened before I came on board.
Okay, a good majority, 2/3, 3/4?
Well, yes, I'd say.
Okay, fair. Okay. And how many times did you meet with Elon Musk about
I've met
firing?
with Mr. Musk probably 3 to 4 times now.
Okay,
Not including when I was on the transition committee and had several opportunities to speak with him.
sure. And then if I understand it right, on your Department of Education employee roster, you have right now at least is about 16 DOGE employees. Is that correct right now, working with you?
I can get back to you to the exact number. I don't think it's that high. But we
Okay.
do have, they are employees. Those that we have are employees of the federal
And
government.
when you did their background checks to see how they're qualified about education, how many had undergraduate degrees and how many had graduate degrees in
I
education?
can get back to you on that.
Okay, so you don't know offhand?
No,
Did you ask that question?
no.
No, okay. Did you ask if any of them were teachers previously?
I did not interview those people that are part of the
Okay.
DOGE group.
And did you ask if any of them worked in schools? Did you know if they were
Actually, I had a
asked?
conversation with one of them yesterday who did have a background in education, technology education, and had worked across several different aspects and was really schooling me a little bit on some of the AI things that we could bring in.
So one of them had a good background, good. Any of them work in universities that you know of prior?
I don't know.
Okay. Fair enough. So part of my concern is, I know yesterday there was this big splash, Elon Musk is stepping back. We call that horse hockey where I come from, right? We know it's not real. He's in the back closet. I understand you guys don't want his, front and center, but he's still in the room. And he's still making a lot of these decisions. And that's the real problem that I have is, you've got a bunch of folks that he brought in that you've admitted you didn't hire, you don't know their backgrounds, if they have anything in education, yet they're helping you fire half of your employees right now. And I'm really concerned about that. Do you know if any of them have requested or gained access to any sensitive data held by the department, including student loan borrower data?
Well, as government employees now, they have been vetted through the same process than any other government employee would. And so what access would be granted to other government employees,
Okay.
they have.
That's fine. And then do you know the number of people that you've had to reinstate of those fired?
It's about 74.
About 74. So how did that happen? Because, I've been an employer for 37 years. The dumbest thing I could possibly do is fire someone just to rehire them, right? Because you've given them no job security. It's like beyond stupid, right? Not saying that because you didn't do it. Clearly, it sounds like this is from Elon Musk. But how did that happen that people got fired and no one thought of you might need them in your department?
Some of that did happen when I returned.
Okay.
Now, I was in the private sector. I have done restructuring in firms, and it's painful to do that.
Yeah. But
And
fire
you-
people
wait,
to
no,
rehire them?
well, here's the thing.
Like usually it's not a strategy.
When you are restructuring a company, you hope that you're just cutting fat. Sometimes you cut a little in the muscle, and you realize it as you're continuing with your programs, and you can bring people back to do that.
Yeah.
So
Or
that's
you
what
can
we
plan
did.
ahead and not fire people to rehire them, right? That would be another strategy that I think is more often used. Would you agree?
Well, I'm saying that I have been on both sides of that coin, and I found them both to be effective.
Okay, interesting. We have a different perspective on that, but maybe the world of all-star wrestling is different than my world of business to business. You talked about, and I agree with you, about contracts enriching private contractors at public expense. Does Elon Musk have any contracts with the Department of Education?
First of all, I just
It's a simple question, please. This is my time. I have 38 seconds, please,
Well,
Madam
I don't
Secretary.
know if he does or not.
You don't know if Elon Musk has any contracts in your department, and you've met with him multiple times?
Elon Musk doesn't have contracts in my department.
So Department of Education, there are no contracts with any Elon Musk company. That's what I'm asking.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. All right. You want to check a blue card real quick, or are you pretty sure of that?
I said, not to my knowledge.
Okay.
If I find out differently, I'll be happy to get back to you.
All right. And just in the last few seconds I have, just real quick on private schools getting public dollars, just so you know, something like 3/4 of the students that wind up going into those schools already attend those schools, and they're getting tax money. So if we get rid of the Department of Education, should we put the private voucher program under Ways and Means, because it's really more of a tax benefit than an education benefit?
Well, I'm happy to get back to you on that as to how we restructure the Department of Education going forward and how those programs are handled.
Great. Appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Secretary.
You're welcome.
Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Madam Secretary, for being here. Typical line of questioning. Someone's a little obsessed with one guy. That's interesting. It's every hearing now. So thank you so much for being here. I did want to, just for the committee, highlight a program that I stood up in the state of West Virginia. It's called the Hope Scholarship Program when I was state treasurer of West Virginia. It was actually one of the most expansive ESA programs in the country. We offered our per pupil student funding formula, state money obviously, to children that decided to leave the public education system. And this has been a tremendous win for the state of West Virginia. They can either choose homeschool or they could choose some private school institution. And we have seen, just since I started that program in 2021, our standard, our academic achievement in our test scores have increased by 3%. So a state like West Virginia, that's a really big deal. Now, our state, my state of West Virginia, we are one of the poorest states in the country. So we receive per capita more federal funding than most of the states. Compared to, say, like a wealthy state like Connecticut or New Jersey or Massachusetts, they're not receiving the same type of money that we are because we struggle in this. Now, that said, we spend more per capita on our kids, on education, than most states in America. And it's been a failure. And ever since the Department of Education has been instituted, we've seen academic achievement just plummet. Year after year, every year, it gets worse. Now, one of my questions for you is, as you talk about national school choice, which I am a huge advocate for, how would you see the states being able to access those federal dollars? For example, the Hope Scholarship Program, which is obviously a law at the state level. How could we pull down those federal dollars to have those students that have elected for school choice to be able to have access to those as you start to, God willing, wind down this department and return education to its rightful position back to the states?
Well, thank you very much. And I certainly agree that states should have the opportunity to do that. What we are looking at more, and as we discussed a little bit before, in winding down some of the programs and doing block granting to governors of states to take a look at some of the programs that they need to fund. And I have talked to so many governors who have said that they would welcome the opportunity to have funds block granted to them because they know what's best for their state. They know, working with the local superintendents, what is needed. So if the money was block granted with fewer strings, less regulation for those governors, they've indicated how successful they believe they would make their states. Now, I'm the first one to admit some governors are going to do a better job at this than others. Some state superintendents are going to do a better job than others. But look at some of the programs you've already talked about. The Hope Scholarship Program, programs in Oklahoma, some of the programs in other states as well. These are done by innovative governors and innovative superintendents. This is not the Department of Education coming in and say, hey, you ought to try this, you ought to do it. No, it's because these people in these states look at their programs and look at what they need, and they'll allocate that money here. If a grant comes with strings that say you have to spend the money here, and the governor says, man, if I just had that money and I could put it over here, I could have a lot more effect. Or that state superintendent, that chief of education working with the students. I want to give them that opportunity. The president wants to make sure that governors and states have the opportunity to compete with one another, but to service the people in their state the way that they see best.
Well, thank you for that answer. And myself, my children, we use the Hope Scholarship. We've elected for school choice. My kids are in Catholic school, just like Representative Bice here, as her children run as well. But it's not so much about my kids that I want to highlight, but in the southern coal fields of West Virginia, we've had children driving with their parents an hour, hour and a half to just be able to access better educational opportunities and outcomes for their kids. And the thing that drives me crazy is so many people are like, oh, this is a giveaway to the rich so they can send their kids to private school. Newsflash, they're already sending their kids to private school if they're rich. It's not really a determinant factor. This is going to raise a lot of families, to me, out of poverty and give them choice that they would otherwise not have. So please, anything you can do to help us be able to have access to those federal dollars for these school choice programs at the state level would be hugely beneficial. And I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.